All right, so actually, I'm hearing that we have both team captains, representatives, on Skype right now for the interview. Gentlemen, welcome to the Face-Off. We have Change and Rude Awakening. Gentlemen,
Hello, guys.
Change, we will start with you, sir. Let's talk about your match day one and some of those strategies that we saw. We only heard rumors of some crazy stuff. Mines, I think, is something that was mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. You guys had, I would say, counter-meta strats to a certain extent. What have you guys been doing in the offseason to prepare for this season?
Well, first we changed our caller. Malo Putin calls now. He uses experience from the RU League. He played in it for a couple of seasons and before he switched to NA, so he's going with that for now. And he does pretty well with map tactics and stuff, so
all right,
we're just trying new things.
Is it a little bit of a change from what you guys are used to? Is it a bit of a switch up, as it were, or are his strategies much aligned with what your players are used to seeing?
I mean, they're a lot more in depth. There's a lot more thought to them, I'd say. A lot more moving parts, but yeah.
So complexity, a lot of that comes down to the practice and execution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll have to see if you guys can pull that off. Rude, let's move on. I want to ask you a question about X-Soldier and the fact that we didn't expect to see him on the starting lineup. What happened? Can you give us any details?
The players that make the scrim or scrims before we play. If a player can't make a scrim, then they will sit.
Okay, so just hard rule, it doesn't matter, just something came up, if you think they can, it doesn't matter if they didn't get the practice.
It's not a hard rule by any means. It's just that I do what's best for the team.
Oh, it's a very structured way of looking at everything. Got to appreciate that. And
okay, and then that's going to bring us to the question of the day. In your guys' opinion, who is the best fantasy player for tonight's matches?
Change, we'll start with you, actually. Putting you on the spot,
like,
right?
Overall,
yeah. Just who do you think is going to kind of just show up and blow up today?
I'd say depending on the maps, probably Canadian Impact from Apex. Get him in a bad jet and he'll get you a lot of damage.
All right, I'm going to write down Canadian and see if he does well. That's your bet. Rude, you've had a moment to think about your answer. What do you have for us?
Honestly, I kind of think it's going to be either Brett, and I'm going to go with Nitz as well today, because those guys are just really tough to kill. Like, they're really tough to kill, and they stay alive for a long time, just like Canadian. But I think maybe both those players might have really good days today.
Ooh, there's the tips, guys. Hold on to those bets, and we shall see if it pays off. Any final words before we depart, gentlemen?
Good luck, have fun.
All right, thank you so much. I will see you on the battlefield. All right, that was Deja Vu and...
Really, really interesting there out of both of them, not even picking players from their own team, really.
Well, I got to appreciate that. That's them looking outside their own rosters. Admittedly, it might come off as a bit... kind of like self-important to kind of talk about.
We don't think this match is going to go long.
Well, exactly.
You could look at it that way.
Yeah, we could. But let's look at the map picks, because Deja Vu actually mentioned those. We'll have to see how those work out for Deja Vu versus Top Tier, because we have Steps, Murrow, Himmelsdorf, Ghost Town, and then the tiebreaker today is Murrovanka. So pay attention to that. If we go to a tiebreaker, Murrow in the second map, and then finally the tiebreaker is Murrovanka. So you might be able to see a little tell about what they're
Murrovanka worries me for Top Tier. They seemed very hesitant when they played it against M60s on Tuesday.
Which might indicate that they only have one or two strategies to play on the map, which means if we see Murrow second battle, that means when it comes to the tiebreaker, they may not have many other options ready to go.
Definitely. Their thing is the Kronwagen, maybe trying a little bit too hard to force those into the lineups. You know what it can do, but you haven't really practiced with them or found strats and ways to implement them to where they're really effective.
Yeah, I have to agree. It's tricky to get new tanks into a good flow, especially when you know it's a solid tank like the Kronwagen, a new tier 10, with that amazing turret. But if it doesn't pan out once, you might just lose faith in it altogether, is what some teams will do. Because you'll see a new tank come out, some teams will pick it up, some teams will just drop it altogether and go with what's tried and true.
Yep.
So we could see that, and that's reasonable to do as well.
The other thing is another tank that we've seen a lot of use so far this season is the STRV 103B, commonly called the S tank. We've seen it a couple times where it's paid off great, and teams have kind of played into it, and he's been able to sit back and get a lot of damage.
Yeah.
But then when I went back and watched the non-broadcast matches, watched the VODs from those, they had a few times where the teams recognized where they were. They realized that they couldn't really affect the battle on the other parts of it, and so they took an engagement somewhere else, and they were able to play around it and not let them get a lot of damage. And especially when, for all the fantasy players, when someone like Vetro's playing the S-Tank, and a team finds a way to isolate him and make him a non-factor, they're just not really able to be effective and to get all that damage and in turn get the fantasy points.
Yeah, so it's a little bit tricky there. So right now, just to update you guys on where we are with the match, we're just getting our first bit of testing done. Players have to make sure their mods are working, that there's no issues there. And once we're finished with that, they're going to be able to get us into the battle start. So I just want to let you guys know that's what it'll be just a moment before we're able to get into the battle, but that's the only way. Just making sure everyone's ready, all of our tech is squared away. Just wanted to give a little update. But let's talk about X-Soldier then. So we are able to see some of the lineup so far. X-Soldier is going to be joining us again, and I'm expecting, because he's back, that could become a more regular staple of the team.
That's something we probably should have asked Rude. Maybe we can ask him in the winners interview. So he said he wants to do what's best for the team. So one player misses a practice and then they get benched, and that substitute player, effectively, who was X-Soldier up until now, gets put in there. Is he planning on keeping them in there long term? Is it going to be that a person starts showing his practice, he immediately gets a spot back? So I kind of want to know how he's going to manage that whole situation.
That actually is a good question, because you start the season off with one plan. It totally goes out the window. Maybe you change a few players around, and maybe it just sticks. No. Or maybe X-Soldier can't show up. Maybe X-Soldier's just covering for this week. We might not see him again the rest of the season in that case.
Yep.
But whatever happens. Just the only concern I have in that case is my fantasy points, because the whole roster of top tier is pretty dangerous.
Yeah, no, they have a lot of players that can really perform, and someone that's kind of gone under the spotlight, as you will. Akako, a great heavy tank player.
Absolutely, he is super underappreciated.
Him, and then a player for High Voltage, formerly known as Bird Thief, showing back up, Bird and Fungus, playing for Deja Vu. He had a very solid match day against 07, despite them losing. Pretty much was their main heavy tank player throughout the night, and had some great rounds for him.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. So we are now getting ready. The timer has started for battle number 1. We shall see what we get. Although, oh, dang, it looks like a short delay there, so just give them one moment. And
so, S-Tank. STRV 103.
Yes.
What other maps, besides, we've seen it on Cliff, we've seen it on Proc. Are there any other maps or situations where it could be applied that you think we're going to start seeing?
Steps, it feels like Northeast when you're the defender, right? So on steps, there's that normal jump. Almost nowhere else are you really going to go for a boost, as it were, when you're on steps anywhere. I don't think there's anywhere that's really worth it. Maybe there's one spot in the West I think we could talk about, but that doesn't give you any good angles. That's for Artie.
Yep. Now there's
the Northeast, though. If you get an S-Tank up there, defending the cap, certainly an option, right? He's got the high rate of fire, plenty of damage output. He could probably hold a cap. Now, I actually don't know HE shells. Is that...
I haven't actually looked at the exact stats on those HE shells.
Yeah, because when I checked them out, they didn't seem all that impressive, so I didn't really pay much mind to them or if they were useful. But you'd probably want to load a few up there, because someone's going to stick a smaller light tank right behind some cover on the cap in the West, and that would be a problem for you in an S-Tank.
Two things to keep an eye on. One, a lot of people have kind of forgotten the old way of doing the Northeast boost on steps wasn't to do it solo and to do the run up there.
Yeah,
it was to push tanks, and so you'd have to do that for this TRV 103. However, if you did it and their team wasn't ready for it, that could definitely be effective. Get them up there tucked away. And then the other thing that we have seen, at least we saw it attempted in the online match, and it worked out perfectly for, it worked out until they lost on Ghost Town out of 07, is pushing the UDES up into the northwest corner of the map.
Oh, okay. That certainly works as well. But that one's, I'd say, very common.
Yeah,
and expected almost. So
they put a lot of tanks up there, but now they've started going into the UDESs and trying to push them up there because it's a tank that can solo climb.
Ah, of course. Well, we are now ready for battle number 1. Take it away.
Steps, the most open map in the league. The attacking team appears near the rocks at the bottom of the map, and the defending team starts at the top. Bases are located near the railway and on the green. The best way to control them is to use the lowland near the second base. The attacking team usually begins the attack from the rocks and the railway, but sometimes they can attack through the green. Teams often drag vehicles from flank to flank, so both teams usually pick light vehicles with a good camouflage rating, but sometimes use tanks with a strong turret and even SPGs.
And looking at the lineups here, 5 Batchats, a Grill 15, and a CDC coming out of Deja Vu. Meanwhile, top tier defending, a very interesting lineup. 2 Kronwagens, 3 Batchats, an STRV 103B, and an M4043.
All right, I am following Pompous right now in the STRV, and I'm seeing that looks like he's going to just chill out back of the map. Very typical position, easy to escape from, nothing special going on here.
Well, and all it takes is these two, one Kronwagen pushing down in the low ground. He can effectively poke up here and spot, and that STRV can just pump out an insane amount of damage to cover him.
Oh, and he actually might be perfectly placed, especially if Deja Vu decides to
Now let's
push
see
up
if My
and
Little
over.
Putin spots him as he comes over, and they put 2 shots into him for 900 damage.
One of those is from Pompous. So he's in a perfect position to cover right now. Although Burn Fungus right now on the flank. Pompous taking a lot of damage. Focus going in his direction. He's having to bail out of that position. Huge damage dealer right now for top tier. Is forced out of cover fire. Although Deja Vu is going to lose out for it. Aghako, though, in the Kronwagen is almost down.
And these Batchats just pushing in right now, trying to get exits out. They should have him down in one more shot, provided they have it left in their clips. Aggressor trying to get along, finally takes him down. Aggressor, a great fantasy pickup there in general, putting up a good bit of damage early. And now, all of a sudden, it's a 2v1 lead in favor of top tier.
And it looks like Aghako's about reloaded. Yes, he is. He's going to be able to probably take down Durgel in just a moment. Durgel not is getting out of there and no one to cover him. Aghako takes no damage. He's sitting on 123 hit points. Harmless, though, on the way back in. Takes 790 in a volley, but Aghako goes down. Huge advantage right now for top tier. They have started this off on a great foot, but Batchats remain for Deja Vu. Batchats for me mean options. Top tier sits on the STRV.
One shot and Pompous is down, so this is not over yet.
Yeah, exactly. But I like the mix of tanks out of top tier right now, and I think that gives a huge advantage. Right there, you've got Harmless going down, and Rude Awakening is in an artillery piece, meaning if this goes slow, if this slows down, it's all top tier. They win. If Deja Vu can find a way of sneaking in, they've got some way of getting a win. However, with 5,000 hit points on the battlefield, 3 Batchats, all of them damaged quite a bit, they do not have the durability to really start an engagement. They're going to have to catch someone out and get a free kill, get free damage, find a way of doing that. They have 7 minutes.
I really like that. I just want to go back here for a second while we have this slow in the battle. The opening setup out of top tier, it covered so many different angles that no matter what Deja Vu really did, they were going to take damage if they tried to touch that 1, 2, 3 line. Because the thing is, the Kronwagen has 12 degrees of gun depression. He can poke up and over that ridge line without any trouble at all.
Yep, and look at this. Looks like a little play out of top tier. They're going to go for an assisted boost. Mural getting pushed up into the mountain there. A little tippity-tap from X-Soldier to make sure he's going to make it. Mural, though, playing it dangerous. Looks like he was almost going to slip for a moment. And this means top tier is going to be able to secure a defensive position after a solid counterplay to Deja Vu.
Very, very bold play coming out of top tier here to a certain extent. Look at where they have Pompous Magnus. Way off by himself with his 201 HP. However, we saw the other day that Pompous really only needs 3 HP to be effective.
Exactly, and Mural right now in the high ground above all of these Batchats is going to be perfectly situated to counter out Putin and Burden Fungus. It's a rough play for them. They've walked into another counter fire that top tier set up. I'm thinking this one's just a matter of time, and well, Deja Vu makes solid plays and admirable choices, but top tier's on top of it. They're one step ahead of their opponent throughout this entire battle.
Yep.
That first opening attack, they knew it could come from the west or from the south, really, right?
Yeah,
Two
exactly.
real options. And they set up, well, let's bet on them going west.
And my point earlier, though, if you look at Crossfire, they had the Kronwagen at B2, they had the STRV on the high ground at A4, and then they had tanks covering from A5 that could shoot the backside of that ridge where they knew very well that tanks may have to dive once they start taking shots from that STRV. And then they had the other Kronwagen at C5, and so it just made a complete crossfire along this northwest section to where no matter they stuck tanks, they were going to take a lot of damage. The only reason that Deja Vu was able to take guns out is because they were all autoloaders and they were all on clips, so they had that brief moment to get in there and try to trade it out, but it just wasn't enough.
Yeah, it never is. Autoloaders, they can be effective, but you really needed to get more focus and something a little more aggressive. It felt like with Deja Vu's top autoloaders, they started to attack, but they engaged and then decided that they wanted to pull out and disengage, right? You don't want to ever enter the engagement that's going to go not in your favor. You
Exactly.
want to stop right before that. But if you already are in your engagement, very often you're already fighting your opponent. And if you want to leave at that point, you're going to have to take more damage to leave. And you're not going to put out as much because you're going to focus on leaving.
Exactly. You're focused on driving. You're focused on trying to not take damage, so you're not focused on lining up shots and getting them off.
Yeah, and so I think that's what hurt Deja Vu a lot in this. They could have gone up and over and probably killed the Krongwagen much quicker. They probably also could have done a little bit more to kill Pompous. At the same time, the counter-argument might be they could have taken yet more damage for that.
Yeah, well, they did a good job at getting Pompous neutralized, but the problem was the Kronwagen was sitting there. Both the Kronwagens were in a good position, and My Little Putin, in his hesitation to not go over the train tracks, fell right into the trap that Top Tier had set, essentially. Those two Batchats just ready to pick up that lane and get the damage off.
Speaking of traps, we actually have Rude Awakening aimed right towards where Aggressor has just crossed the train tracks, and he's going to have a pretty... I don't know, he's actually going to have to re-zero on Aggressor, but Aggressor gets himself into the cubby. He's going to be relatively safe from most of the tanks of Top Tier. As you can see right now, Pompous, unable to aim at him, but looks for Putin and gets the hit, gets the kill. Now, 2 tanks remain.
He's in siege mode right now, so he gets a camo bonus on top of the reload and accuracy bonus. So, he wasn't even spotted, despite there being a tank literally, 100 feet from him. 100 meters, excuse me.
And also right now, I'm expecting to see Rude Awakening might just let one fly over in the Alpha 1, Alpha 2. Let's see. Aggressor.
Does he dare?
Aggressor is not spotted, as you can see. We have the ability to toggle between seeing all tanks and seeing only the team's view. But give it a moment, and just if Aggressor peeks up, we might be able to see him.
He's going to poke up and over here.
There he is. He's spotted. Artie zeroing in. Fires.
And Rude Awakening snaps it off. Gets the kill.
Beautiful snapshot, by the way. He was able to do that without directly mousing over his opponent. He actually just realized that the way he angled down just worked
Well, you have
out.
to remember that the artillery shells arc, and when there's a path where it has a nice high trajectory, and he just happened to drive into it.
Well, yeah, and actually Rude was aimed about 100 meters past it, and just kind of whipped his mouse down. He realized that his reticle fell just in the right place for a moment, and just clicked in the timing.
Yep.
He actually didn't get a chance to settle and watch
and that's
it.
my point, is where his reticle was aimed was actually lower down on the ground. So at the end of the day, the shell just really collided with Aggressor, which is a little bit unfortunate. Another shell comes out.
Oh, Rude!
And he picks up that one, too, on the Burden Fungus. And that is going to be a 1-0 lead for Top Tier.
Nicely played. Gotta give it to him. I think bringing Artie, mixing that with the STRV is a strong way to defend. You've got so much damage to deal direct fire with the S-Tank. And then with an artillery piece, anything that he can't touch, that Artie's going to mess up.
Well,
and the M4043, I think, is one of the most efficient for the points tanks in the game.
Yeah, and well, the thing is if you're going to bring an S-Tank or an STRV-103, you might as well bring artillery, because you've already said you're going to be passive, so why not get even more passive, bring the artillery, and just use the rest of the tanks to spot for those two, and let them pump out the damage, and we'll see in a moment here exactly how effective that combo was. Waiting for our stats to get up there, looking at it.
Not bad. Not bad for damage.
About what I'd expect.
Yeah, the M4043 is able to deal about 1,200 in this battle,
Yep, and
but
this is Pompous.
most of the damage coming out from our STRV and our Krongwagen. So the newer tanks of the game here dealing the most, and then the Batchats kind of following suit. So X-Soldier, of course, putting up great damage that battle. Miral, when he went up top, was only able to deal about 1,900, so very support position. He's able to get the fire onto the targets that no one else can. However, because of his position so far back on the map, he wasn't able to deal as much. So Pompous leading the way again with the 103B and Aghako, who you mentioned earlier, being a player that's underappreciated. Also,
X-Soldier, who once again came into the starting lineup, managed to put out a lot of damage. Rude Awakening, 1,200. And then, unfortunately, a lot of people's fantasy pick, maxed out Putin. 0 damage. And Milo Putin, who's also on your team, 423 damage. You're off to a rough start, Randall.
Look, okay, I'm off to a little bit of a rough start, but they're going to come back. I promise. Between Putin and Putin, they're going to make it happen.
Well, let's hope that they have their defense sorted out a little bit better, because they got caught off early in that game, and I think they got a little bit just disorganized from that point on once they lost Milo Putin. They couldn't really recover, and I worry about that happening again.
Maybe so, because that is a good point with My Little Putin going down when he did. So They are going to be on defense, though. They can slow it down. That was the first battle of a match as well. Everyone knows that sometimes those just get off to a rough start, right?
But momentum, though, you cannot underestimate momentum.
Exactly, and that's something that top tier really, really takes advantage of. They're a team that's based around momentum, in my opinion. You see them win, they start winning a little bit harder, and they just keep going and going and going. If you can stop that momentum from top tier, if you can kind of just shake them up, then sometimes we start to see them break.
Yeah, and I just said, if you're going to bring an S-Tank, I think an artillery piece is a good complement to it. Well, they really took that to heart in this next battle.
Oh, go ahead and show us that lineup, man.
We saw this last match day, but we're seeing it again. The M53-55 coming out for top tier, along with the T10, an STRV-103, and 4 Batchats. Meanwhile, Deja Vu, 2 Kranwagens, 2 Batchats, an Object 430, a grill, and the Object 430's little brother, the Object 416.
Question, why the T10?
The T10, I think that really just comes down to a user preference in Tier 9 heavies. The WZ-111 gets used a lot, and I think there's... I'm trying to think. The 103 we don't really see. We see Conquerors mixed in occasionally just because of the gun and the DPM, but I think the T10 or the WZ, they're just flexible heavy tanks. They're fast, so they're not medium fast, but they're fast enough. They have a pretty good gun and reasonable DPM for a Tier 9.
Fair enough. Well, opening moves right now from top tier. We have a west side story from them, and Pompous is going to just chill out on a defensive position, watching the backfield, while the remaining Batchats of top tier just blitz over to the northwest, trying to take some control. I'll have to admit, though, it looks quite spread out. If Deja Vu were to have headed out west in their opening move,
now,
force, I don't think that would have gone
something
so well.
I was just watching.
Whoa, what is Hako going for up there? I don't know if...
That's a climb. There's a climb. You can leave a tank up at E1 and it can watch over the south. It's a good spot if you're planning to go for the north cap and you already have pressure in the north along with a good crossfire. It just gives you someone to watch the south without them really being at risk.
Yeah, but I really feel like it performs well if you put an arty or something up there. A Batchat seems like it's going to have trouble with some of the lips there because it's gun depression issues.
Yeah, well... What I was going to say here real quick that I didn't get to.
Yeah.
Something I noticed happening early on was Chase Potato actually went around and knocked a bunch of the trees over at A5. Just assuming, and I can fairly accurately say that what he was doing is that he knew the artillery was going to be looking for those trees to be knocked over, because what happens is a lot of time light tank players and high camo tanks like this will knock trees over and use them as camo. And so if the artillery was sitting there from the up-down view, looking at it, he'd see the trees being knocked over and may have let a shell fire. He didn't in this case, but I did notice he was aiming at them. So I think just some little mind games there going back and forth between the two teams already.
Yeah. Let's actually go ahead and see what top tier is thinking as we get a listen in with their comms.
Are you spotted, Hako?
No, I made the button.
Okay.
All right, can I get more bats on the south side, please?
With exits and...
I'm lit. Okay, so I got lit poking here.
That's definitely sound the bushes must be.
No, he's there, like, poking over barely with binos. That's what they've done on EU.
But he's not in a bush.
So, do you want me helping the south?
Oh, you know what? That makes sense.
Yeah. He's not in a bush. He's just barely poking over.
Hey, do you see the spot right here? This, like, the bushes by A4, A5?
Yeah, what about it? He's not in any of the bushes.
He's not there?
You guys have blindsided him and they
No,
go right
he's
through.
where exit said he is. He's right here. He's like back. He's like right here. He's like up, barely poking over and just using binos.
Yeah.
Be careful.
You think I could get to
7
here?
minutes, guys.
The backside of that?
We need to
Probably.
get lights. We need
we
to
need
get
lights.
Our already has done basically nothing. We need to.
running down.
Okay, I'm covering you.
Is the grill up on the hill?
We don't know. We have no idea. We have nothing lit or
Alright,
nothing
I'm gonna
shot.
see if I can light him. Okay. Can I get some bats to preem on my location?
Yeah.
So if I get rushed, okay.
I'm gonna go down mid a little bit.
Okay, I'm covering both of you and Merle
I'm poking
right now.
up really quick.
I'm gonna
You
get to B1.
Nope, there's nothing in this bush poking this spot.
Okay, can I get a bat?
So top tier doing their homework and paying attention to the other regions. The European region started this morning and Apex starts tomorrow morning. But something they already saw this morning was the 416 just sitting there. He just has the back of his turret poking over, and that's all you need to be able to see something, is the top of your tank has to have direct line of sight.
Yep, and this is tricky because you wouldn't normally think this is the way you would orient your your 416. Usually face forward, right? But no, backwards. And
The
that
pancake
is
tank.
Yeah, and the little turret you see on top, that's all that counts. Oh,
And a big shot on a Rude Awakening from that grill up in the boost.
ouch.
Harmless with a great shot there.
Yeah, Rude's got to be sitting here going, where is he? Because that camo net along with binos really makes him tricky to find. You're going to have to probably just blitz someone forward, right? Like, what is your counter to this? How do you deal with this?
By not trying to go north would be the first one. See if you can work south. If that's not an option, then you just have to commit. You have to find a way to get in there. The problem is with this defense, and this is why Steps has always been a very defensively oriented map, is cracking this North Turtle when done right can be extremely difficult.
Absolutely. So let's take a moment now that we've listened to Top Tier to go ahead and listen to some of what Deja Vu is talking about, because they've been relatively, static, but maybe they've got a few thoughts or a plan up their sleeve.
Now it's moving away.
Question, why aren't they putting TD on?
Bachet, Kron, be ready,
Okay, yep. Oh, okay.
Nice shot.
Move this
Forcing.
Kron.
Forcing.
Yep.
He's leaving, they don't know what to do.
No, stay.
Stay. Okay.
I'm forcing a clip. Don't overreact to this.
Okay.
Don't overreact.
Okay, fair enough.
Surge. Harm. He's moving away.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm aiming.
Come on.
On the rail. Kind of on the rail. Ooh.
Yeah, he went up. He's crossing. I could probably pick him.
Maybe you're able to pick him up, Burns.
No.
Give
Don't
him a
Damn it, I
He's too
totally
far.
would have.
Don't get
might have
greedy,
been able
guys.
to do it earlier.
Remember, already.
I got fucking
That's
lit.
why I don't want to get lit.
Yeah, just don't.
Guys, come on.
I could have killed him,
dance.
though.
Don't
They
hide
have
behind
advantage,
Putin,
they don't
though.
really know what to
I'm
do.
not on.
Burns,
Anyway,
T10, get in the cap.
Okay.
Just kill him. Nice.
He's sitting sideways to block. I'm gonna burn
First
her.
Oh my
TRV,
god.
First TRV.
Already fired? Already fired.
Probably.
I can't.
Yeah, but they're a tank down. We can just flex around and do the little collapse that we
Yeah.
usually do if they're a tank
And
down.
I have an
We
RE.
can.
And they have a
go.
Sturv on cap, so that means they have, 3 damage tanks?
No.
Probably gonna kill Zets.
Guys. I think the best play is to go push.
Yes,
north.
go over the rails. Go.
Right now?
We don't need to overreact
No.
right now.
Not yet,
No.
not yet.
Jesus
Not
Christ. No. I'm serious. They
Yes.
probably have Mareel up here, so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
better to go this way.
Okay.
Yeah, just go over the rails with 2 bases for 30, and Kron try to take this. One of them. One
Sure.
of the Krons.
Sure.
Do you want the grill
And
to come
one-
down?
No.
All depends.
We don't need to do anything for now. Nothing's
Yes.
happening. 3
We don't
minutes.
need to
Bat. Bat.
Kron, just be ready to punish.
So my little Putin still struggling with color. I don't want to say color basics, but
No.
something that an experienced caller has kind of gone through before.
So, yeah, I'll speak to this. So this is a really common thing you see when a caller is new to calling a team. Not whether or not they're new to the team or not, whether or not they're calling for the first time on a team. Because once you're put in that leadership position, everyone is used to interacting with you in a very certain way, right?
Mhm.
It's like any workplace that you've been in, where someone you work alongside might become your shift manager or your boss, whatever it is,
Mhm.
And where you may have gotten along with them just fine before, there's going to be a new relationship. You have to follow their orders or their direction at times. And while you may not have a problem doing that, sometimes we can call it, I'll say simply discipline, can be a little tricky. And that's not a bad thing. It just sounds...
Comp is trying to... So sorry to cut you off here
No,
real quick.
go ahead.
Comp is trying to hide on cap behind the corpse there.
He's not going to be able to do much with that. He's going to have to back off.
Yeah,
but
he
I'll
took damage.
Yeah.
Go ahead and finish your thought. Sorry to cut you off
I'll
there.
finish that, because I didn't want to leave it quite on that. It's that Putin didn't appear to be making any horrible choices or anything. He seemed like he was a little bit eager to make a call.
That's what I was going to say. He seemed a little bit over-eager, and that's something the newer callers tend to struggle with. And it's not just not just wiggling up at calling strongholds or anything. You feel like you need to make a play even when there's nothing going on.
Yeah, and he may have been right to make a play. The thing is, though, you notice the way that his team was reacting to the way he was making the call. Now, they weren't exactly saying your idea is bad. They just kind of weren't ready for him to make a call that way. And so there's still a little bit of getting used to each other, I think, you need to hear.
I think part of it, honestly, comes down to, and the artillery shot coming out there for 600. Don't know if that's worth bringing the artillery yet. That's the first little bit he's really been able to chip away. But my point is there are times
there's going to be a 1v1. Sorry to cut you off here.
Go for it.
We'll have to return about the leadership talk later, but Master Putin Mural in the very south could have a 2 versus 1 with Putin and Aggressor, but they're going to see each other and actually back off. So that could mean Deja Vu's going to have trouble stopping the cap, because those bats were crucial to getting the flank fire that they needed in order to delay the cap, especially if they can't make any more hits, as Pompous is now playing it a little tricky, and we're going to see a fast cap. A bunch of tanks getting on.
And the artillery is even coming in here and getting in front of Pompous, who has a majority of the cap points, and they don't have artillery. Now, they will find Delph, but really at this point, it's Pompous they need to find the reset on, and they're not in position to do it. Are they about to steal a round?
They might just, but it depends on if these medium tanks can close the distance. We have the Object 416 from Chase
there
going
it is.
down.
The reset comes in. This is over.
Okay.
This is done and dusted right then and there.
Yep, this should be it. Crossfire should be able to clean this one up. The overmatch is there. Hit points are all in the favor of Deja Vu.
The two bat chats clearing the field in the south. They'll wrap around. They'll get in behind, and there won't be anywhere for these tanks to cap to go.
Exactly. Good play, though. Solid defense from Deja Vu. We listened into them at the exact moment when they were trying to fight with themselves as to whether to attack or hold, and they decided to hold, and it worked out.
Yep. Now back real quick to the whole leadership position when we have a minute here for them to come and kill Pompous.
Yeah.
Actually, it's going to be time expiring that's going to close that one out.
Deja Vu double win. They would have won by kills, but they get to win by time. It's going to hurt their fantasy points.
Yeah, but the damage there out of their top fantasy players so far continuing on, so people don't have to worry about that just yet.
Yeah, Pompous playing amazingly, and also Aggressor Massacre.
Yeah, well, Pompous, I wouldn't say amazingly. It's not a whole lot of damage while it is top on the team.
You're right. Maybe a little bit overeager there, but I do have to admit, Aggressor and Master Putin were all over that map. You saw them moving back and forth, looking for that crossfire. Burn... What a hit right there. Rude Awakening going down the cap, unable to cover. Just too short of a tank. That was probably one curious reason to bring the T10. You probably could have brought something a little taller, a little bigger. And Pompous getting reset on cap. Who was that hit?
Yeah, I believe it was from one of the Kronwagens in the mid or an HE shell. But looking at the damage here, like we were saying, Aggressor and Mektat Putin, or Master Putin, both playing the bat jets in tandem there, both doing pretty good damage, firing a lot. A lot of it's going to be blind fire. And then, like we said, Pompous Magnus, top on his team, 2,200 and no kills, though. It's not going to translate to that many fantasy points.
Yeah, unfortunately not. But I'll point this out. The cap points, the defenders, that was my little Putin with 53. And I noticed Bird and Fungus was sitting there on 58 defense points. So the two of them got the big resets that really saved Deja Vu. If they hadn't done that, that would have gone completely the other way, and a battle that otherwise top tier shouldn't have won would have just been right there. They would have gotten a second win to start off the series.
Now to finally end that one point I wanted to get to
finally. I'll let you finish it.
My thought on it is this. Is when especially when you're a new caller, you feel that because you are the quote-unquote caller, you need to call. You need to make decisions. And something that new callers struggle with is recognizing when you need to make no decision. And in that case, there was no pressure. There was no cap pressure. They were in a good position with the crossfire.
Yeah.
They were fine just sitting there, and they had the rotations down. They knew what they needed to do. And they wanted to do it early, blind, with no intel. And while sometimes making a call on impulse can be good, it can also get you into a lot of trouble and compromise tanks unnecessarily. So that's something that a lot of callers struggle with, I feel. And I think that's something that Milo Putin still is trying to get a hold of.
Yeah, although I'll say on the other side of that point, I think that no matter what we were hearing as a decision from My Little Putin wasn't bad. The calls he was making, albeit maybe a little high energy, maybe a little bit fast, weren't the wrong calls. Those were plays that I think would have worked.
Those were good. Don't get me wrong. Those were good rotations that were well thought out. But it's a matter of when to execute them. They didn't know where the tanks were. They didn't know if they were going to be rotating into a trap. Once you have, all right, there's 3 tanks for sure spotted in the south. All right, let's go for this. You know what you're going to do. That's all part of practice and having the strats rehearsed and gone over. But at the end of the day, you know, if there's 6 guns over there, you can have the perfect rotation, but if you push into a crossfire, it doesn't matter what your strat is.
Yeah, exactly. So as we're getting ready for the next battle, just checking over on my camo, make sure I've got everything on my side set. I think I'm good to go. We're going to go into battle number 2. 3.
A map with a great number of buildings, bushes and trees, amongst which teams hide for most of the battle. The attacking team begins the battle from the top of the village, and the defenders start from the bottom of the map. Both bases are better controlled from the hill near the first base, and from the green in the lower left corner of the map. There are many attack directions. The attacking team often attempts to gain the attention of defenders by putting pressure on the first base, whilst manoeuvring several tanks behind the second base to deliver fire into the defending's flank. Team setups are very diverse, but the players often choose the fastest tanks, even for heavy setups. They could even bring SPGs.
And here we go into battle number 3. Top tier, a Kranwagen, 4 Batchets, a Grill 15, and an M40-43. Meanwhile, Deja Vu, 2 113s, 3 Batchets, a Grill of their own, and an RU-251.
Yes, they can in fact bring SPGs.
Well,
I love that video, I'm sorry. It gets me every time. The voice is so, intense.
Yep. And my point, one other point I want to get to real quick is, I said earlier, if you're going to go with the Nest tank, you might as well bring artillery. That same could probably be said about the Kranwagens because it is a very passive tank.
Yeah,
And a big shot from Pompous onto Chase Potato. Chase is going to be feeling that one in the morning.
Yeah, that's going to hurt. That's not good for a scout. Coming from experience, that's good for a scout. A bounce on the back of your turret. What else could you ask for? Actually, wait. I think that was
the back of his engine compartment. It looked like.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, the very bottom of his engine compartment.
Yeah, it didn't deal any damage. That's very strange.
Yeah,
right?
bounced. Well, he swerved at the last second, and so the shell hit it at an auto ricochet angle and bounced off.
Yeah, it was just very strange that it's off the back like that. I would have expected off the back of the turret. So Chase Potato is going to be in his little scatty stuff. We're actually going to get to see him kind of measure himself out. So once you get into a bush, a good thing to do is whip yourself in third person and just take a look around. Make sure that nothing's sticking out, because if you have one wheel sticking out the front, you're going to get spotted just as much as, well, if your entire tank was sticking out sometimes. So
yep, and that's a tool that a lot of people should learn to use if you don't already, and that's holding the right click to get a third-person perspective really of your tank. You can use it in a lot of situations, whether it's making sure you're in a bush properly, making sure you're using your hold-down cover like a tank corpse or ground properly, just zooming out, holding the right click, and just swerving around, looking in the front, and making sure that everything's all squared away.
Exactly. Now, talk to me about the strategy that we're seeing out of top tier. I want to know how this attack is going to go down in your mind, because it's quite spread. The Kranwagen all the way up in the northwest right now, and with a Batchet all the way in the southeast, it's ex-soldier.
Yeah, well, the Kranwagen's just going to sit here and hold the 3-line, and the thing about this tank in this position, he has a nice long lane where he can look down right now and spot the whole time without taking any damage or being worried about it, because that turret is pretty much impenetrable. So he'll have probably 15 to 20 seconds of tanks pushing on him before they can really get to him. So he can just sit here, he can spot this, and he'll have time to either get away or have teammates reinforce him if they do push. And then the rest of the team, all the way over in the forest, Batchat pushing all the way down around in the south, going to start getting some eyes. They're going to have some work to do to find Chase Potato. He only has 441 HP, so one high roll from a Batchat or 2 shots and he's down. The problem is that they have to find him.
Yes, and ex-soldier is on the way in. Might be about to find him, might get spotted, and he is 459 in a volley, but a flick shot, and Chase Potato's going to go down.
And that is bad for Deja Vu, except they've been putting out a lot of damage, so they lose Chase, but fair trades in return.
Yeah, I think that can be considered quite valuable. Ex-Soldier's down to 546 hit points from full health, so in exchange for a low health scout, you're able to at least severely damage a Batchat. Now, we do still have Akako, Pompous, Exit, Miral, Delth. All of these tanks are at full health. Well, Delth maybe doesn't count, he's an arty, but you have a number of tanks still rather healthy.
Oh, and this could be bad for Akako, getting caught out here as he makes the cross. He takes one shot, and right now, Deja Vu are deciding to flex through the north. The 113's getting into the F line to make sure they deny it.
But the cover fire's there. We saw Durgel taking damage. We have already repositioning, and everyone is flexing into the proper spots. Grill all the way down south is going to be looking for some cover fire. And I don't actually think Deja Vu is expecting it, because Putin right now, you can see Master Putin moving around to try and get flanking fire onto Akako. He might end up regretting that in a moment if he's exposed himself much.
Here's the problem right now is Akako is playing the Kranwagen, a tank that excels in hold-down situations, and when you get forced into the flat ground behind buildings, he has nowhere to go. That hole is just nice and soft, and Deja Vu just able to find the pick on him.
Yep, and now we're going to see an interesting kind of play style that you don't get featured a lot, which is playing a kind of town game or with a number of interesting lanes and crossfires. So you can see it's a messy city, right? There's a number of buildings kind of almost randomly smattered around. But if you learn the map well enough, you can learn where to go to find a little crossfire, to fire just as we saw in Akako, and deal damage from angles that you can't get any cover fire onto. Only Harmless will be able to reply to or something. But it looks like I'm going to be able to bring that to a close as top tier is transitioning to the north, where Aggressor is being pinned down. My Little Putin, Master Putin moving into support. They could choose to attack right now. And if they do, they may be able to catch some Batchats on reload and get a kill.
Yep, I really like this out of Deja Vu. choosing to flex through the north, counter out the Kranwagen, and they've done a lot of damage to these other tanks. Just choosing to stay together, and they're doing that oh so well. And now they're actually gonna. It looks like they're gonna get aggressive right now. Merle's taking a bounce, and another tank goes down for top tier.
There you go. Well, top tier's at a huge disadvantage now. It should just be Deja Vu to clean this one up, but they can't get too aggressive. If you look at the hit points for a number of their tanks, they are low enough that some focus fire could easily change this battle from a win to something a little more even.
Mactap taking a lot of damage from Muriel's, but Milo Putin's going to push in. He knows that Merle's just fired, so he's going to be able to clean him out, and that's going to be another tank down for top tier.
That's going to hurt quite a lot because guess what? No one's covering Muriel. Rude's not there. Pompous has no shots, and Delph, I mean, he couldn't have hoped for anything, but this is just about over. And that's going to be it. Rude's down. Now Pompous in just a moment. I think Deja Vu handled that rather well. A very conservative play from them. They didn't go for anything risky. They didn't try too hard of a counter push. They just flexed to defend against everything top tier brought against them. Every time top tier tried something, you could find that there was a tank somewhere with an angle on that to make them pay a toll, as it were.
Yeah, well, and this is what I was talking about, that this is the exact opposite, let me say that, of what I was talking about last game with Milo Putin and making decisions. Is last game, there was no reason to make the flex. He obviously knew the right flexes, the right pathing that they wanted to go, the right rotations, as you were. This time it was the same thing, but they actually had the intel and acted on it quickly, and I gotta like it. They saw the Batchats in the south, they punished them, then they said, all right, well, let's go take the north. We know there's a couple guns down here. We know the Kranwagen's pretty much isolated in the north, so they decided to move out, and they ended up catching them trying to rotate down south right here.
Yeah, and I think we can all say that this might have been an ill-advised play to move Hako up this far forward very early.
He got caught in rotation. They wanted to get him to that next berm just a little bit further to the south there where he can really use that tank's strong suit.
But as you can see, it's risky.
Well, it's risky because Deja Vu flexed at that right moment because they knew tanks were out of position in the south. It wasn't a blind push. It was, all right, they have 2-3 guns down here. They were taking blind fire. They knew for sure X-Soldier was there. Yeah. So they saw the intel. They knew, all right, at most they have 4 guns up here. They moved with what they had left, all 6 of their tanks, and flexed north, and they just happened to catch Hako out in the middle.
Yeah, but I still think top tier might have been able to make a better play out of that. They should have probably decided Hako's going to move up like he is. We should be a little bit more prepared for that eventuality, that he gets caught out, that he gets tracked or he gets damaged. Because when he goes down, that is a huge damage dealer and probably you could say the anchor for the team off the battlefield. He's meant to go into that hold down position like we've been talking about and just make that unassailable. You cannot deal enough damage to the point where you can be like, okay, I'll just close the distance now and finish him.
The problem has to do with the timing, and there's 2 factors to look in there. One, you might want to do it before the tanks in the south are 1 spotted or 2 take a lot of damage and they can't cover you anymore. If he had gone down a little bit earlier when they weren't looking for him. And then 2, the other problem was right when he decided to move down, or they decided as a team to get him down there.
Yes.
That was the same moment where Deja Vu had decided to flex north, and they, if you're looking at it from top tier's perspective, they didn't necessarily know that they would have made that play towards the north. You know, so they caught him in a rotation that was kind of a little bit awkward, I think, and I think it was just a little bit fortunate there for DV that they came across him when they did.
All right, so that's your thoughts there. Now, we do have an update, Rox. I just heard that it's 2-0. Rival is losing right now to Aquatic M60s, and here we have some updates for you. Little action on Murrow, just like the battle we saw, and Rival against Aquatic leading in hit points. Interesting.
By quite a bit, but look at that for Rival. J-Smooth starting again. I even talked to him the other day, and he said that he wouldn't be starting most games.
Although I like what I'm seeing on the minimap from Rival, that team play, that wolf pack running around, but it does appear as though
it's not working for them, and they're taking way too much damage in the process.
Yeah, it looks like Aquatic was able to create a really strong crossfire with that. That's difficult to break, especially with an aggressive team like Rival, because if you know anything about like their history and their callers, very often they're the kind of team that is going to risk it. They're going to say, all right, this may look a little bit dangerous. This may look scary to run into a brawl. And most other teams are going to shy away from the brawls that they're going to take.
Could you dare to say that is the definition of hold my beer tactics?
Yeah, it is. You could say that's actually their theme, which is way back when. Thanks for bringing that one back up, because Hold My Beer Tactics rivals Simple Tankers as they were known back in the day.
The new equivalent would be YOLO strats.
That's
just you only live once, just getting up and going.
Yeah, but I feel like Hold My Beer Tactics is so appropriate, knowing J Smooth. That's just cool guy in charge of Rival. But,
likes to go into the danger zone.
Oh yeah, he's on the highway to danger zone. Now, let's get back to Deja Vu top tier, because now, second battle of Murrow. This is going to be a chance for top tier to defend.
All right, now we have one interesting pick here. The Oni, the tier 7, not the Oho, not the tier 8, the Oni, the tier 7. An interesting pick out of Deja Vu. We'll have to see what they do with that. 4 Bat Jets, an E5, and a Kronwagen. Top tier, Kronwagen, 4 Bat Jets, a Grill 15, and an AMX 1390.
All right, let's talk about the Oni then, right off the bat. You already pointed it out. Obviously, to me, it says I'm going to use the Oni, which is a very large tank, to block Cap, right?
Yeah, to be some sort of a bunker somewhere, most likely on Cap.
Just look at this thing. It's huge. It's massive.
That is essentially...
You could hide 3 tanks behind this thing.
The Japanese tanks, in their current form, that is honestly the most redeeming factor they have in a way, which is they're just big tanks. Their guns are not amazing. Their armor can be tricky, but not, once again,
not
great.
I say deceiving, because you think that flat plate on the front is something you can pen, because most other tanks in the game, when you actually find a flat plate, it is the place you pen.
Yeah.
But it's kind of the opposite in that case, where the flat plate is actually really well armored, and this one little angled piece that, there's a few little spots on the front where those little angled spots you would think it's an auto bounce angle or something, but it's actually not. You can pen.
Yeah,
and the Oni should go down very quickly. It doesn't have enough armor. I think that
I don't think they're planning on it lasting, as long as it makes to Cap. Which that's the same thing we talked about yesterday with the CDC, and that was the problem. Was the CDC got ammo racked on its way to Cap, as the story goes, and it's bringing the CDC is no good to you as a bunker if you can't actually get it to where it's supposed to be.
Yeah, same goes with this Oni, as he is now on the approach, mere meters from the Cap, and he's in. So with this, where does he choose to line up? Looks like Harmless is going to be getting behind him, and there we go. A little Cap fast action here. Can top tier react in time? Actually, wait. Look at top tier's positions.
They're not ready for this.
Yeah, they're actually completely unprepared. Exits is currently the closest player in a bat chat, and with 39 seconds left, you have to hope that someone's going to be able to get in here and delay this. I expect they will. Bat chats are moving in. Rude Awakening and Muriel are going to be able to get shots onto Chase Potato.
Oh, and this angle, I just noticed this. Look at where all these bat chats are coming in. They're coming in along the 5-6 line to get the shots across vertically on that, or horizontally on the F line.
Yeah.
They won't have a shot on the Harmless with that Oni in position.
Hako moving into the southwest. Good job on the Kronwagen getting that. And then Crossfire going into the side of the Oni's turret. But it's really Harmless that counts. Harmless, and that bat chat is hiding behind. If he stays hidden behind this wreck long enough, they're going to figure out how to deal damage, because you can see X-Soldier that is a risky play. He's going right up against the position and right up and over on the Kronwagen. Burden Fungus, while Aggressor and Master Putin moving around for a little contra-flank on him. And X-Soldier should be getting out of here relatively soon or risk going down. But Harmless is going to keep racking up those Cap points.
Hako is actually going to move in down this one line right now, trying to find a shot onto Harmless. I don't think he's realized that MacTap's sitting right on the other side.
All right, let's take a listen into Deja Vu, see what they've got up their sleeve, see if this is going to be able to work out for them with 30 seconds left till the Cap.
He does reset.
I'm okay from X-Soldier.
Or reset.
I will
reset.
Yeah, they're all over here. We can dump this. They're all...
Grill's behind the Kronwagen.
Okay, then no, never mind. Don't listen to them.
Good shots, Mac.
Let's go, guys. Play fresh.
I'm clipping.
That Kron has resets.
I put some good ones in the seats. Behind, bat in front of me.
Okay.
Guys, bat right here, right up there.
I need to move back. I'm gonna get in the one. Oh, never mind.
We have to make a push.
We need to pressure this really
I can do that. If there's nothing in the A, I can just
get this batchet back and try
bat
to
in middle
this.
Also. You guys gotta kill that bat. They're all shooting at me. They're all shooting at me right now.
Get back.
I'm coming.
What are E5 doing?
Keep pressure, Kronwagen.
They're probably clipping. These two bats right now, clipping probably. No. Okay.
Damn it. There's a 90 behind. In front of you, Batchat.
I know he is. I told you guys.
You guys didn't even spot him when he
I'm
was
about to get
shooting
killed
me.
by X-Soldier, guys. Oh, boy. Game's over.
Well, that certainly turned itself around, didn't it?
Didn't go as planned. The second that reset came in, and that's the problem with some of these strats, is the second the resets come in, if the other team... The way these strats work is they force the other team to come into your guns where you can pump out a lot of damage. It's not that you're trying to go for the cap. And what happened here was they were able to get the resets without taking any damage, top tier that is. And when that happens, it didn't look like Deja Vu had a plan B if they get reset.
Yeah, I also think that kind of throwing back to a conversation we were having earlier about the leadership of Deja Vu right now with My Little Putin making calls. We noticed earlier that he was really excited and wanting to keep being active, putting pressure on, and kind of going for tempo, it seemed like it was. We talked about it being maybe a little high energy and having some criticisms, but at the same time appreciating that he wasn't making bad calls or poor decisions. In this case, it kind of felt like My Little Putin stopped talking as much. It seemed like he made a call, and it actually seemed like he was almost brushed off. It seemed like where I would have expected the team to say, yes, we do need to move and we do need to attack, that didn't happen as much. And I think that maybe My Little Putin was not as specific as he needed to be about what needs to be done, who needs to do what. Because I heard him say, get that bat out of there. He was talking about X-Soldier, who just moved up on a flank and was getting crossfire onto Master Putin, who was in a crucial forward position. And to break that down altogether, their position was falling apart. Their front line had been penetrated.
And you could hear it in his voice. You could tell he was vocally frustrated.
Exactly. And he made the call that something needs to get done. Now, Aggressor eventually did move out and deals with the 1390, and apparently that was maybe a known factor, but that was after they lost a crucial tank. And I think there needs to be something said that Deja Vu might need to do to just have a little bit more time together, practice a little more, and this should work out. Now, I'm not trying to be overly critical because it's very easy to read what happened and to just say that there were poor choices made. But also you have to appreciate that a number of these players, like Master Putin, were being allowed to do what they do. He got into a solid position, he was 1v1ing against someone, he was coming out ahead.
Well, and that sounds a lot like what Rude Awakening and Pompous anyways, was saying yesterday about Rude, is he puts the players he wants in the right positions and then trusts them to make the right decisions. And a little bit of that definitely coming through for Deja Vu as well.
Yeah, and it's going to be a little bit of a learning process. So what's going to be important for top tier is that they stay focused, stay on top of it. And for Deja Vu, I think a little bit of it is people need to start syncing up a little bit more. Because while there's nothing really weak going on, I don't think you can say that the teamwork we're seeing right now is as strong. Now, let's go to a quick offline recap. We do have a little update for you on the Rival versus Aquatic 2-0.
And it looks like more hold your beer tactics about to come out for Rival, but they don't have the HP to make this push work, really. And that's going to be 3-0 in favor of M60s.
Ouch. Big lead right there for Aquatic. This is a crucial match for them because Rival is a team that really needs to get a good start. And I think this would have been a great way for them to start their season because Aquatic is a team that is very, very close to them, and they both shared that 3rd, 4th, 5th area last season.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Well, we are actually ready for our next battle, so let's see what happens with the score 4-4 or 2-2. Excuse me.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
And look at these bad boys coming out for Deja Vu. 2 FV-183s.
The derps. Okay.
2 113s, a 50B, a Batchat, and an IS-3. Meanwhile, top tier, a 50B, an E100, an IS-7, a Kranwagen, a Batchat, an E3, and a CDC.
Okay. CDC tells me that this is going to be some kind of cap pressure. The CDC is very often brought just for its profile because it's just quite tall enough that you can hide something behind it. and I believe specifically there's some tank destroyers that sync up very well with its profile. In particular, Pompous in that T110E3 should be able to fire just over the back of the AMX CDC and be in perfect cover. And here we have more dancing guns. Thank you, Delth, for dropping the beat. Wub.
One thing I would note is when we watched Top Tier play Himmelsdorf on Tuesday, it was Mrelshikta in the T110E3 and Pompous playing a couple of other tanks. Pompous actually taking the E3 back. He's normally a tank destroyer player, and he's going back into the E3 while Mrelshikta is actually going to be in a batchet. Little interesting change there.
Yeah, certainly. We'll have to see how this plays out. See if they're able to kind of switch this up or what's going on with that. Maybe even note that one for a later question, actually. See what's up with it.
And right now, it looks like Maktab Putin's just trying to keep some intel and eyes down on the 2 line. It looks like he did spot Delth and Mrelshikta, so he's going to turn and just bail right now.
Yeah, and actually that's a good tell for Top Tier. So they actually know because Putin decided, I'm going to get out of here. That actually is a great way to tell, oh, they actually might not have cover fire.
And look at,
because Putin would be staying out otherwise.
Well, look at this. The Kronwagen up on the hill. This is an interesting application. I didn't really think for this tank. A great hold-down tank, great turret armor. He can sit here and he can play the edge of this castle. He has the gun depression. He has the height of the tank.
Can he actually fire over, and does he have any effective fire, though?
Well, he has shots right there towards Milo Putin. He almost had a shot onto Harmless.
Oh, almost.
He'll at least spot him at the very least.
Oh, he's going for it. He's going to try and get it.
He's looking for it.
Actually, that's interesting. The Kronwagen doesn't have a problem firing on the far side of that street, but if you hug a little closer to the hill, you're able to avoid even the Kronwagen.
Yep. Now, the thing I don't like about having the tank up here is the Kronwagen has extremely bad DPM, and 1v1 he's really going to struggle. So there's no other tank up here to really help him out, so it's definitely a bit of a risk.
Oh, well, look at this. The FEs are on the way, and it looks like Burnt Fungus is going to be taking some fire while he crosses. Pompous to the south does take some damage in return. And you've got Oghako and Rude Awakening. Sorry to whip the camera for you guys, maybe giving you a little headache, but CDC in cover, and Oghako in the IS-7 right behind him. Now, what's important to note is these FVs fire Hesh, so the IS-7 is not going to be invincible in this hold down. Resets on cap are going to be possible.
Hesh, high explosive squash heads, very similar to HE shells, will do damage upon impact even if they don't penetrate. Now, if they penetrate, they will do an insane amount of damage, but at the very minimum, you're looking at 400 or 500 damage to a tank if you can just hit it anywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Now, I do see a little bit happening on Harmless in that 113, having to take cover against Miral, and Zit's crossfire from Delth as well. And that's going to be the entire east side of the map opened up, at least on the low ground. On the high ground, we do have one bat chat from Putin very far out of the fight. Might not be able to contribute very much, actually.
And look at this, Aggressor looking for the shot onto the side here. Even just hitting his track would be enough to reset. He hasn't been able to find it so far. And he won't through the whole clip. And that cap is still getting down there, 80%, 20 seconds left. They need to find a reset. Meanwhile, Pompous does go down, is about to go down, 66 HP.
And looks My Little Putin's going for, I guess, a suicide charge, you could call it. As much of a charge as you can get out of an FV. And with 7 seconds left, he has almost loaded. He's going for the shot, and I think he's going to go for a splash. He's going to get it 151, and that's going to be a reset.
He barely gets it. The splash just caught his front drive wheel, tracked him. Any amount of damage and or damaging a module. Doesn't even have to actually do damage, just damage the module, and that's enough for a reset.
Exactly. Now My Little Putin is in a forward and not ideal position for an FV, but let's see if we can make this work. Master Putin moving around behind. We're going to have to see if he's going to be able to deal some damage. He's right behind Hako.
Meanwhile, Mrelshikta coming in for the flank here. Maktab Putin is sitting opposite of him, and we may have a 1v1 between the batchats here.
Oh, it won't be a 1v1. It's going to be a complete landslide. Master Putin has only 3 shots left. Misses the first one. No, that's a track shot. Beautiful, actually. And he's going to be able to maybe at least hold him off. And he gets a second track shot. 2 in a row. Beautiful play from Master Putin, assuming that's intentional. And he may be able to get out of this alive. However risky
I don't
that
see
may
a
be.
way out. 50B and IS-7
No, watch
and
this.
E3.
If that 50B is on reload, he could just get out. Also, he could just pin himself and become really, really annoying. Because cover fire comes in maybe, and you get a little damage where you would otherwise be getting wrecked.
However, Mrelshikta has shots, not the problem that 50B has. Now he's driving around. There are 3 tanks left alive for Deja Vu.
And look at this, Master Putin might be able to live long enough to get his reload even. 1 second left. See, this is exactly how you do it. It's a little risky. It's brave, you could say, but it works. And Master Putin takes down Pompous before he is taken down in turn.
Not enough, though. Top tier really turning the screws onto Deja Vu here, making them work for it. They bled so much HP to get those resets. And this is what I was talking about last game, is it's not necessarily trying to go for the cap. It's forcing your opponent to really push into you where you can do a lot of damage while they're getting those resets. It didn't work for Deja Vu last game. This top tier is showing you how to do it.
Exactly. So 1 moment left, an aggressor trying to make his final stand, but there he goes. And top tier is going to put themselves in the lead. It is now 3-2.
Yep, no, definitely. It was. I like the play. It was a little bit slow. They sat there. They waited for a minute. They didn't cross during the obvious crosses. They waited for a few minutes when maybe the scouts move and they're not looking for that cross down the 5 line. Normally you can see them as they cross the church.
Well, did you notice Master Putin was up on the hill very early in the game, especially at when top tier was able to actually take control of the east side of the map? He was unable to support.
Yep.
And I think that was crucial because if he'd been around at least to deal damage, I think he could have accomplished what he did later in the battle by going into the backfield. But he also would have maybe helped out some of his teammates. Because as you noticed, I don't think enough guns were in the right positions. The crossfires weren't there. There wasn't a strong counterplay. There wasn't something with a lot of momentum behind it from Deja Vu that we needed to see. It felt like the tank destroyers from Deja Vu got in their positions. It seemed like the bat chats from Deja Vu got into their positions. It seemed like the heavy tanks got into their positions. You see where I'm going?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone was doing good things, but at a different...
Delph.
Oh, wow.
Not someone that many people have picked on fantasy. 5,400 damage and 3 kills. What a round it is for him. Exits, in the Kronwagen, 2,500. And then it drops off pretty far after there. Rude Awakening in the CDC, not doing any damage, but he was never meant to do damage to begin with.
Yeah, that is surprising, though. That is what was that number again?
5,800.
58. Not bad at all for a 50B in this meta, especially when those FVs were out there. You would have expected that he just pops out, tries to deal some damage, but then a Hesh shell comes in and just wastes him.
Yep. Well, we actually have another update from our offline match. Let's see what's happening over there.
All right, so we have Rival, Aquatic 3-0 with Aquatic in the lead.
About to be 4-0.
Oh, there we
go. It is
okay.
4-0.
That's 4-0. Now, this actually looks like it was almost live even. So it becomes a 5-0, I'm told here. And this is it, the final battle on Ruinberg. Aquatic attacking, Rival defending, and would you believe it?
J-Smooth just trying to pick on the 50B while he can, but it looks like the game's already over. Well, actually, look at this. Rival have an HP lead right now.
Yeah, in this one. I wonder what happens to it in the battle, because I see it quickly bleeding down. Once J-Smooth is out of ammo, he just can't...
Well, he's running away. He didn't have enough to kill Felix.
That's how a Tier 8 fares against a Tier 10 sometimes, especially light tanks versus heavies. And, I see. Strong play from Aquatic. They held their ground. Once they got some momentum, it was all about the autoloader reloads.
And all those Object 430s, all that DPM.
Yep. I see how that works. Well, Aquatic clearly showing us that they've woken up since yesterday, because yesterday's matches, and from what I saw...
Top tier played very well yesterday. Now, M60's definitely had some rust. They had a couple games that I really expected them to close out.
Yeah.
But, top tier have been doing their homework. They had to play through the whole qualifier, so that, to a certain extent, that whole qualifier was practice for them.
It was a little bit of a warm-up. They're coming into this hot, you're saying.
Yeah.
But Rival, here's something to say to Rival. If you're doubting Rival at this point in the season, in day 2, after losing 5-0 to Aquatic. Now, Aquatic's an excellent team. I think that we often underrate them even to a point, but that could have to do something with their consistency. Now, Rival is a team that you will expect will actually lose very often early in the season, and we'll see them come back. So
that's something that Rival has done since time began.
Exactly. So I think that's to be expected.
They've even been relegated from the Gold League at one point, yet they've played every season.
Yep, they always seem to hang on. And as we get back into top tier Deja Vu, it is 2-3 in favor of top tier. And look at the lineups.
Deja Vu, a 113, 350Bs, an IS-7, a Batchat, and a 1390. Top tier, a 113, 250Bs, an E100, Batchat, a 4005 Stage 2, and once again, going with an IS-3.
What's up with the 4005 Stage 2? What do you think that over... as a choice?
A little bit faster, gets over the hill. The 183, you don't really expect to bounce anything, and it's slower, so you might as well just bring the 4005. You're going to get penned anyways, just might as well bring the extra mobility.
Oh, fair enough.
Also might have to do with user preference. It is Pompous playing the tank destroyer.
Isn't it slightly higher as a profile as well?
Barely. It is a little, but not by enough to matter.
Yeah, it's of no consequence. But
yeah. Now, unless there's some little position that I'm overlooking where that has just enough, the gun's just high enough to shoot over something that I don't know about, that could be a thing. But I doubt it.
I think mobility is the reason, and also the turret. I actually kind of prefer playing the FE 4005, but I also can't exactly claim to be a tank destroyer expert myself. So. At least at his level.
A lot of blind fire coming out, and Pompous and X-Soldier both taking some damage to the point where they just have to back off.
And they will. Smart play. I mean, once you realize you're taking damage, probably you have no idea what Deja Vu has planned. So let's actually find out what they do have planned with a listen in.
They're playing South
Yeah, let's go.
Yes.
Go.
All
right, let's go.
Go.
3090, update, go now.
I'm spotted. I don't want to cross this.
I'm turning left
Okay.
straightaway and going down this road.
Yeah,
Okay.
same.
IS3 watching it.
Thanks.
He's not playing the corner.
4005.
3 on cap.
I'm just going straight, Jericho.
Hold on, I'm gonna make.
Yeah,
I'm not going on
Me too.
A5.
It's perfect, let it work.
Just be careful that 4000.
Harm.
Can I get on here?
Watch 8 line, fall back.
Georgia, that's you.
Or Georgia, yes.
All right, yeah, sure.
Watch 8 line, this bad.
Okay, yep. I just
Okay,
never played that
I don't
before.
think they know I'm here, but kill the IS3 if he crosses. You guys have to.
Yeah, if IS3 cross, you just have to annihilate
Mac,
him.
were you ever lit?
I was, but I made it look like I was going
Patient
this
pushing
way.
down the middle aggressor.
I got a crit on that guy.
25. 15.
IS3's coming.
Gotta kill them.
Dirge will turn. Dirge will turn.
Yep.
Guys,
coming.
these guys, kill these guys.
Dirge
One make
bad
it. Bad one make it.
shot.
4000.
Bad check, got it.
Move to another corner.
Yep,
Careful,
moving.
back off. 4000's looking. 4000's looking.
50B Dirge.
2 shots.
Yep.
Harm back.
Oh,
Try
yeah.
to help me. Harm just
Okay.
I
back.
can't.
I'm reloading. There's another 50 coming in, I'll please just give me a.
Harm just back.
Coming in.
I see the other 50B.
Kill him.
Really seems to be a common theme throughout tonight. Struggling to find that word there. But applying the cap pressure, making the other team rotate in, and then causing a lot of damage. Working out perfectly right now for top tier.
Yep, and you can hear Deja Vu is getting themselves back together. It sounded like the team was trying harder to just stay on the same page, but we had some issues with. It looked like Harmless was having trouble figuring out what exactly his team was going for when they were telling him to back off.
There's not a whole lot of room on that cap. He was just trying to maintain the cap pressure, and just couldn't get safe enough.
I think from our position though, we can see what his leaders were trying to tell him to do, and I could also see where Harmless was struggling to understand what his teammates were going for, and the fact that his teammates should have been saying, "I've got your back, back off. I've got your back. I've got you covered. Get out of there." Like they should have made him realize that he was going to die, and they saw that otherwise. But I don't think that he understood that to be the point. I think he understood it to mean, get out of there. You're doing something I don't want you to do, which is very often what you hear when you do something your caller doesn't want you to do. And I think there was a little bit of maybe a little misinterpretation, just like cross-wire there. Harmless just trying to get out. He did manage to deal some damage, though, even after taking 2 massive hits and being near death in that way. Now, looking at the damage from that battle...
What I'll say about the damage is those that picked Mektap Putin, you'll be happy with your return so far tonight. Outside of that first game, he's really kind of picked things up.
Yeah.
Now, my little Putin, on the other hand, sorry.
Yeah.
So look past it.
It's the caller curse. You're not going to be able to perform as well as some of the guys able to focus more on their performance and follow the orders. So Chase Potato does a great job staying out of the fight when it's necessary. And Top Tier attempting to come in, do the damage, but, well, the response from Deja Vu was appropriate this time. Well measured.
They had a very good trap set up on the cap. That's where they did most of the damage, and then cleaned up the other tanks later in the fight. They ended up getting that 4005 down very quickly because as soon as he fired, Mektap Putin just came around the corner and emptied his clip into him, and Pompous just didn't last very long.
Yeah, it's not long at all. Hako going down there, and then I like that they left X-Soldier to last based on the way the fight went, because in E100, if you take it down at the beginning of the fight or at the end of the fight, it's great. but I always find like if you're dealing with a tank with so much armor and hit points in the middle of a brawl, very often that can be an opportunity for a team like Top Tier to even come back. Because if he can get those crucial bounces, slow things down a bit, other tanks are able to reposition and deal the damage.
They're able to win their fights, come around, and then come help him out.
Precisely, you get me. Now, what do you think for this next battle? Because we're going to Ghost Town, and looking forward at that.
Ghost Town is a map that...
Sorry, actually, before we get into that, we did talk about stats.
Yeah, damage, 3,100 damage coming out from Master Putin there. Like I said, he's really recovered after that first battle. He had that goose egg the first round, and then after that, he's put up pretty consistent numbers.
Always have faith in him, man. He's gonna show us what's what in the long run. And with 6 battles going so far, I'm feeling like he might put up some good.
Now there's going to be at least 2 more because we've got to get to 5. So we'll finish out. We'll have Ghost Town up, and then Muravanka is the tiebreaker for tonight if we get that far. Okay. Now my point was not yesterday, but Tuesday.
Yes.
Deja Vu played the offline match, and they ended up playing on Ghost Town, and they used a lot of 57s, some. Not a tank we see a whole lot, but they used, I believe, three of them at one point, and they were very quickly to get their guns onto target, empty their clips, and take guns out quickly, and it was pretty effective and fun to watch.
Well, it is kind of the point of the T-57s. I mean, like, very, very quick reload. A little bit less damage output,
3,000 DPM, 20 seconds on the 22 seconds, I believe, on the clip without equipment, and then only 2 seconds between each shell. So you can really get in there, rifle off the shots, back out just 20 seconds, reposition, and reappear 20 seconds later, ready to fire.
Exactly, and that's why I love American autoloader tanks.
Also, 1,600 alpha in the clip. Fire it all off. If you have 2 of them, that's 3,200. As long as you all roll average, which you can get a little bit unlucky sometimes.
But, put out enough shells here, what does it matter?
Yeah, and that's enough to kill anything in the game, even a mouse.
Yep, exactly. Now, let's get ready for our last map of the series.
Let's go over.
Ghost Town. The first absolutely symmetrical map, made especially for 7 versus 7 games. The teams start the battle on opposite sides. There are numerous ways to attack here. One of the bases is located in the central square, the other one at the top of the city. The hardest battles are usually fought for the top base, and this calls for the use of heavy tanks. Sometimes the teams choose fast tanks for spotting and base capturing.
Go for it.
Yeah,
you go for it.
Sorry, I thought you were taking a sip of water. Spoilers. 250Bs, IS-7, 2 T-57s, a Batjet, and a T-49 for Deja Vu. And Top Tier will be bringing a 50B Kronwagen, 2 Batjets, an FV 215B183, T10, and the WZ.
Very flexible lineup coming out of here for Deja Vu. The T-49, interesting tier 8 pick. I'm guessing what we're going to see happen out of him is he's going to come over here towards the north, knock over a bunch of buildings, so he has a clean line of sight, and there's nowhere for them to hide, and then he's going to go up to the boost at A3 where we see a lot of tanks go.
Oh, yeah. He'll be fine up there. That'll be nice fun for him. But out of Top Tier, we do see 22 damage from someone knocking into each other. But the opening moves out of Top Tier, do you think they're going to be able to get over into the west and maybe even flank behind Deja Vu? Or what do you see kind of this as
the Batchat, Amaktat Putin's already running away, and I don't know that he's spotted anything at this point. So, yeah, the 1-2 line's a completely viable option at this point. Now, what they don't know they haven't seen these tanks. They don't know where they are. So they may hesitate a little bit, but once they recognize that these tanks are in the north, I very quickly expect them to move over here towards the 2-3 and get in position.
Fair enough. Now, we do see a group up of Deja Vu actually now going towards the east. So grouping up, they might even be able to pinch X-Soldier as he's kind of cut off, taking some damage. 471 as he tries to escape. He's only going to have some destructible buildings between him and his opponent. 100, and he's on fire. He's going to go down. That is huge for Deja Vu. That is a whole tank, and more importantly, that is one of the most mobile tanks from Top Tier. They're not going to be able to flex around the map and exert as much control or even counter out certain tanks or even catch a tank that's exposed. All of those options are now more limited to them.
Now look at this setup out of Top Tier right now. We talked yesterday about how this cap has 4 entrances and different ways to get resets and whatnot. Look at the positioning that Top Tier have taken right now. It essentially allows them to cover all 4 exits despite only holding 2 of them.
Fair enough. Now, we do have the Kronwagen moving up, and take a look. That's exits I'm talking about right now. You see where he's actually moving up over in the southwest. Or rather, I should just say the west at this point. He's in Echo 4-5. He seems rather exposed.
He has the 50B out on the one line because there's nothing out there for Deja Vu to stop him, so the 50B can cover him of Delph.
But what if fire came in from somewhere slightly to the north? Like what is it? He's actually looking across currently into the position I'm talking about with what is that? It's on the mini map. It's about what is it? Delta 5. Yeah. If you see what I'm saying.
If they came around there, he'd just back up. If they were over to his left, he could either just drop off the wall and would get out of there, or he could just back away. It is a little bit risky, but once again, the 50B's out there, so he should have the intel that he needs to make sure that he doesn't get caught out like that.
Yeah, so let's actually take a look at the big picture for a moment, and you can see the kind of spread of control right now from top tier is very limited. They actually are quite a distance away, you can see, from both of the caps, right? But let's look at where the attack could come from. Rox, talk me through it.
Yeah, well, if you look at how they're setting up right now, they're actually moving away right now and spreading out a little bit, which is really interesting. So they're not going to go for the 2 caps, so not a whole lot of point talking about it right now.
Yeah,
the
actually,
IS-7 is kind of ruining their plans.
Yeah, this is where you could see that T10 and the F7 go against the IS-7 of Deja Vu. He might go down soon. And a bat chat fight brewing in the west as well, with some cover from our T10 or our FV. Their position is actually quite strong, potentially, especially if we can get the WZ into the fight. But our Kronwagen 50B on the other side of the map, if that's detected, we could see a huge push from all of our red team Deja Vu to close it up.
Yep, well, and if you look at it, that I-7 is actually kind of alone right now. If they were to push it and collapse on him right now, the 57 wouldn't arrive until after that I-7 was already dead.
No, not now. Not anymore. Not with My Little Putin and Aggressor. They've just moved up just as you say that.
Oh, he snaps it off. He gets lucky that he only snags a tracker. My Little Putin gets lucky anyways, but only snags the track, only hits him for 400.
Yeah, 415 exactly, and that's not as effective as you're hoping for with a shell that takes how long to load?
Oh, did you see Chase Potato in that T49 sitting up at A8, a different climb than we're used to, but that's going to give him vision all along that 8-9 line and really make it hard for top tier to move.
All right, a little skirmish now breaking out from Deja Vu and top tier. Looks like Pompous and Rude Awakening have found Bird and Fungus and Durgel. Fire being traded back and forth, and you can see Muriel is actually moving up behind them in the Batchat 25T. He's going to be able to get the finishing kill on Bird and Fungus and take that, move it around, and he'll be able to even find Aggressor. But Aggressor knows he's coming.
Well, Aggressor also knows that he doesn't have support right now, so he's going to push in. He is going to find the shot onto Murrells.
And Durgel's going to have the follow-up shot, so 386 total, and the support fire should be following up in just a moment. Durgel and Aggressor are down at least a shell, if not more, already.
Yeah, Durgel's kind of isolated right now, and the rest of the team isn't in position to support him.
That's 3 off of Durgel if he's not on reload already. Let's see, is Durgel on reload at the moment?
Doesn't even get
now
the penny shot.
He should be going down. Free damage onto him is what we should be seeing momentarily, but Rude's going down in the T10 to cover fire.
Durgel just needs to man up for the ram. He needed to charge him a little bit sooner, maybe get some more damage off as he goes down.
No, that's
and a bounce out of Akako. What is this?
That's
point blank.
3-2.
The WZ11.
1 second. He's going to be able to get it. Oh, he's going to bounce one shell, backing off, gets the kill. Okay. Durgel handles
there
it.
From Akako.
And Muriel's just a moment.
And Deja Vu about to walk away with this one. It looked a little bit gray for him. It didn't look like they were going to be able to do it, yet they turned it around.
Yeah, that was a curious fight. I'm pretty sure all of you guys at home kind of saw that. It was everyone kind of just posted up. I didn't see a huge brawl or any kind of like, let's go destroy this guy. And
well, a lot of little fights broke out along the map in different areas. And while it worked out good for top tier early because they were the ones that found the overmatches, at the end of the day, Deja Vu was able to have more of their guns together and do more to capitalize on it despite them losing the HP and guns first.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of individual play into this one where just each player's ability to capitalize on certain tiny, minute details of the layout of the battlefield. Just because those little things that make them pro are the reason that this one, I think, came out.
Yep, and right now,
Little Putin and Aggressor, two key players.
Top tier are really going to be struggling right now to find a follow-up because I don't know where they could go at this point.
Well, with 3,564 hit points, you're looking at the guns on the battlefield, right? Delth in a 50B, Pompous in the FV, and Muriel in a Batchat. The damage potentials there are quite nice. The issue is they have to pretty much make everything hit, and they can't get aggressive and find themselves exposed at any point. So Delth actually has to watch Pompous's back. They both can't watch the same corner. And at the same time, Muriel in the bat chat is pretty much a one-shot, so he has to stay completely out of any fights. And there's a T-49 Chase Potato. That T-49 could just wreck any one of the tanks alive, with the exception of like a Delph with one well-placed shell.
Delph is in a 50B. If he gets the penning shot, that could be 900 damage done right then and there.
Exactly, but not quite the kill shot. Maybe I guess equally as effective. What's the point of it?
It's out of a tier 8 light. However, Delph finds the shot on him first. So he comes around the corner, and now Trade's going back and forth, but Delph is tracked on the corner for the 57. He uses his repair kit.
No, that was I think he didn't get a chance. He seemed like he was double or even triple, or did he hold it to take damage and hopefully not waste his kit? Was that what you think happened right there?
I'm not sure exactly. I didn't see the close in what happened. It looked like he was perma-tracked for the first second, but that track repaired a little bit sooner than I would expect a full repair crew to do.
Then I was thinking the same, which I'm guessing what he did is a very common tactic if you poke out and you get tracked. If you use your repair kit, very often what will happen is someone's going to wait for you to do that, fire, and track you again. So sometimes it's worth it to just hold your kit for one shell and wait for that follow-up is coming, and then time it so that you repair your tracks just in time for you to back off.
Yeah,
and so
you have a very small window to repair that track and get out of there before you're dead, essentially.
Yeah, chances are you might not succeed at first, but once you get into the groove of it, the practice, you'll start to figure it out. Nice shot from Pompous into the back of the turret of Aggressor, takes him down. This
is a situation that looks too familiar and scares me.
Yeah, a little bit of deja vu, but Pompous isn't in a bat chat this time, and he's going to start taking damage. He is currently reloading with 6 seconds left, but not going to have enough time. There he goes. He's dead.
No 3v1 clutch for Pompous this time.
It's Miral's turn. It's Miral's turn to make it happen. So, 477 hit points on an AMX 50B with Harmless. 912 with Master Putin. Miral cannot take a single shell. He cannot take 1 ounce of damage. Nothing may touch him.
He doesn't know that my little Putin's already watching that angle.
And he goes down.
Takes him down.
There we go. Deja Vu going to take the lead, putting themselves on 4 and making it match point. If they win one more time, that'll be victory over Top Tier. If Top Tier wins this one, we go to a tiebreak.
You already said it that game, but I almost had severe deja vu right there. Pompous left alone, all alive with no HP. If he had pulled it off 2 matches in a row, that would have been something else.
Looking back, there's a lot you can say, I think, about the performance towards the end and their clutch play, as it were. But I think that Pompous handled himself well. I think Miral tried, but there wasn't much you can do. Every clutch situation is a bit of a roll of the dice. You just have to hope that your opponents have not accounted for what you're about to do and just happened to have thought you were doing to do something else. But I have to give it to Deja Vu for holding it together, because this entire battle was just kind of confusing as a player, because you're trying to figure out what the heck happened. Where the heck was the fight? What were we even trying to do? And it really was just a bunch of individuals on the battlefield kind of pubbing it, is kind of what it came off as. Because you could see that there were intelligent plays being made, but it didn't feel like there was some incredibly deep strategy behind it. It felt like these were 2 strategies that went to the battlefield, did not find any of the enemies they were hoping to where they hoped to find them, and then it just kind of became wing it,
Well, and you said there for a second that it felt like they were kind of pubbing it, just playing like they would off by their own is what you mean by that.
Or even in slightly more organized play, you see stuff like that happen.
Players just go off to the thing. But you have to remember, though, that's kind of what Rude Awakening almost said he wanted to set up for his team is, I want to be able to put my players in their tanks, in their roles, and them know what they're supposed to do and just do it. And so, while it may not be the exact point he meant, it kind of felt like that, like they were all trying to do different things. And at the end of the day, instead of coming together to work together while doing their own thing, it's just kind of all these little fights doing their own thing off on different parts of the map.
Yeah, and we'll just have to see how that pans out. I'm going to have to ask Rude a little bit about this after the broadcast and over the weekend to kind of just get a feel for what they're going for. Because I also want to entertain the fact that they've been making calls. When we've listened in on Top Tier, it hasn't sounded like they're highly disorganized or anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's just,
I agree.
Maybe that's just their style, and they're hard to read.
Yep. Well, we actually have another replay from our other offline match that's also going on right now.
Oh, fantastic. Let's take a look. We've got 07 and Valence. This is a match I wanted to see because Valence has the potential, with a 2-0 lead, to really make a name for themselves in the league, beating 07. 07's a solid team. They were in our finals last season.
07 take this round back, actually, but something to keep an eye on here. Zone Delta and Static, who both play for Valence now, were on 07 last season, and they switched teams. So you could argue there's a little bit of a rivalry here between these two.
Well, that's interesting. It also could be that they know a little bit about how the other plays and the other strategies, and that could be helping Valence out in the battle as well. Seeing as Valence being newer, a newer assembled team without as much, airtime. Mm-hmm. We haven't seen their play. You don't have the replays published, and so you could study them in depth as much. So Valence might actually have a little bit of an advantage going into an 07 match. So maybe starting off with a 2-1 lead, but 07, if they get some momentum, reasonably should be expected to take it back.
It does not surprise me. And you got to remember, they were down 3-1 at one point when they played on Tuesday against Deja Vu. And so them, being able to come back from a 2-0, I don't think is anything unreasonable to ask from them.
Fair enough. I'll have to see how that one pans out later tonight as we are into what could be our final battle, 4-3 in favor of Deja Vu.
And
they've got 4 50Bs.
That's a lot of 50Bs. An IS-7, a Batchat, and an IS-3. Meanwhile, top tier, a 50B, a Kronwagen, 2 Batchats, an FV, 2 15B 183, a T10, and a WZ-111. Once again,
4
Pompous.
50Bs.
4 50Bs. That means that they are going to group up and they're going to play very aggressive angles, is my gut feeling there. However, Pompous in the 183, seeing a lot of 50Bs is exactly what you want to see when you're playing that 183.
Oh, yeah. You're just looking at them and you're like, oh, sweet, free damage.
Exactly.
Oh, great, everyone's going to love me on Fantasy.
That's the problem with the 183 a lot of times, is the best shell, many will say in that tank, is the Hesh shell, which only has 135 or 235 penetration, which may seem like a lot, but against a lot of these tier 10s, that's not necessarily enough to penetrate all the time. The 50B even has soft spots in the turret where it can be penned for full damage from the front, let alone anywhere on the sides or rear.
All right, let's go to a listen-in with Deja Vu. I've been told we have them on the line.
You can.
Can you get a shot on him?
No, I got spotted because I played like shit.
Oh, it was you, okay. So, what is my idea? We get IS-7 and IS-3 on cap. We get 2 50Bs here, watching this live. We get 1 50B here as a trap, Batchet here, and 1 50B play here, this time aggressor, okay? What do you think?
I got spotted.
Let's do it. I'm moving south.
Are we going in now?
Where do you want to go?
Across.
Aggressor. He fired?
Yeah, he
said he wanted
to
to go here.
Loaded.
Okay.
Oh, I might have shots on him. Hold on.
We gotta take the long way.
Yeah.
Can you kill him?
No, I'm clipping.
Okay, me and Harmless, we're playing this corner, watching...
Back pushing north, because they got... Catch them!
Catch them, guys! Everyone,
Nice. I got two.
We have to repush it,
I got spotted.
I'm 18 seconds,
There's
can't
something
tell.
here.
I'm just gonna go down.
Clipping.
There's something there. There's something.
Careful the 183.
And the Kran.
Hey, 183 is not spotted. 183 is not spotted.
He's
You
probably
ready?
gonna be right here in front of me.
Careful.
Nope.
There he is.
Putin, can they push this, guys? One is fired.
Everyone's gonna
I got
dive.
10. Yeah, I'm diving now.
Just go.
I'm going now. Yeah, I'm going now.
Send help. I'm gonna go finish Kron.
Go do it, yeah.
Gotta finish the Kron.
I got two.
Aggressive fallback.
I was looking down at my mini-map, and I saw the push coming out of top tier. I saw them flexing around in the south. And you're listening to my little Putin try to formulate a plan on how they want to attack. And then you just hear him stop and just go, what? 50B? Batchat?
Yeah.
Everything. Nope. Never mind.
X-Soldier walked around the wrong corner at the worst possible time. Luckily, he didn't walk around earlier when they were playing around with each other. You saw them dancing for a moment. During the call, they was like, all right, just give it a sec. And all of a sudden, just X-Soldier lands in their lap. 250Bs against the Batchat? Yeah, free win right there.
Yep, and that was just an extra tank down that Deja Vu really didn't have to deal with at that point. And I love the call there. They pretty much abandoned what they were going to do. They said, everything we have to clap south. We know that they're not together. They got all their guns together, capitalized on the overmatch, and now they're in a great position to close out what should be their first win of the season.
Yeah, top tier's really going to have to tighten up on their play because after that, I'm pretty sure I'm feeling this is more of a a top tier that's trying to get used to each other still, and you can see the evidence in some of the little errors or misplays maybe.
Well, we saw that out of both teams today, really.
I think I can agree with that, because you also see that like Deja Vu's having a good time. Some of their players are playing around together, but moments like X-Soldier running around a random corner because he thinks no one's there, had they just been fooling around and playing with their guns at that moment, they might have missed out on a crucial opportunity for victory. And I don't want to be too critical about it. This is all fun and games at the end of the day. And yes, they are playing for $325,000 prize pool.
On top of that, also playing for a chance to go to the Global Grand Finals at the end of the year to play against the best teams in the world. So a lot on the line with every match here. You got to be in the top 6 to either get the bye to the regional final or have a chance to play in the online playoffs.
Oh, yeah. So both of these teams, I think, are trying not to get too serious too soon. It's early in the season. They're still trying to get their feet wet, figure out what's going on, figure out what the new tanks mean for the meta. And, of course...
Well, a couple teams, Deja Vu and M60s, they started last season very well. They got the momentum going early. And then towards the second round robin, the burnout, as they say, really set in, and they dropped a lot of points. And, so Deja Vu making sure that they're not doing too much too early here. However, they're doing enough to beat top tier, which I think they'll be happy with.
Yeah, and I like this. We're seeing 3 fronts. We've got, or 3 lanes. We've got Chase, Durgel moving down the west, Milo Putin up the middle, and Bird and Fungus. Low health, but by himself, watching the number 2 cap in the middle of the map.
See, once again, this is one of the situations where he has a lot of lanes that he can watch where there's not very many ways to get close to him without him knowing about it. So he's relatively safe despite being alone. They'll be able to get guns in position to help him if he does end up getting pushed on.
Yeah, and then note, it's hard to see him right now, but you see on the very bottom of your mini-map, you've got Master Putin waiting around, watching for some kind of flank, which I like because I think one of the options top tier would go for, or I would expect out of top tier, would be someone in a bad chat. I guess Mural in this situation might go around for a flank. And if Putin or someone isn't watching their back, it could really bite them, especially this late in the battle when hit points are getting lower. Yep. One bad chat getting 3 or 4 shells off for free can be devastating.
Yep, and it's actually going to be Chase Potato in the IS-3. It's going to go ahead and push onto Cap. It looks like he was going to go for the Crane. However, the Kronwagen of Exits already looking to have shots on him, puts 2 into him. He bounces the 3rd, and I don't think anyone's going to be able to find the kill shot onto him.
And at the same time, Rude Awakening is going down to Master Putin. Brilliant shot right down the 3-4 line. He's going to be able to walk away with that kill, and that's probably going to be able to start finishing this one up. Should clean up within the next minute. Deja Vu able to close this match out, but it isn't over yet. I don't want to speak quite too soon. There is the potential for top tier to win this one. There are 3 minutes left, which, if they can delay, there's an option there for them to win. This requires Deja Vu to play incredibly passive, though. Yeah. But with pompous tanks like that, I mean, you could watch this turning around. Kronwagen, Botchat, you've got autoloaders, but Zitz is going to go down. One crucial tank off the battlefield, Delph.
Oh, Milo Putin. Pompous lining up the shot, does 12.52. And then Delph is able to take down Aggressor, so not out of this yet.
But here comes Durgel, knowing Delph is facing the wrong way, fires 1. Fires a 2nd, he gets the kill, he should be able to move on, and that's Burdened actually picking it up onto Pompous. Mural goes out.
I can live with that. Pompous getting off 1 more shot for 1,000 before he goes down. That'll help my fantasy points a little bit.
Yeah, Putin trying to 1v1 Mural, but Batchat's at this range. I mean, anything can happen, really. And now, can Mural get the 1 kill that matters for him? Or will he ride out into the open and die horribly? It'll take just a moment to answer. The tension's killing me. And Mural can't seem to take a single bit of damage. There he goes, finally getting hit, and he goes down. That's going to be it. Deja Vu, 5-3 over top tier.
And that's going to be their first win of the season. They lost in overtime on match day 1 to 07, a match where they really felt that they should have won. They didn't, though. They lost in overtime 5-4. Ended up losing that one on Proc, but they come back today. They play strong. Obviously, they've been working out some kinks in the system, got a little bit better, and arguably top tier depending on what you say, might be a little bit stronger in 07 right now. 07 don't, they're not known to start a season very well.
Yeah, trying to compare based off of different results like that is tricky.
It's
because,
very tricky.
Yeah, so as far as getting a real bead on where these teams are, I think I'd like to say top tier's early season right now. They did, like you said, have the chance to kind of warm themselves up with the qualifiers for the Gold League, but against a team like Deja Vu,
who's been around for essentially 2 seasons now, because they played one in the silver before the last.
Yes,
so,
but Deja Vu is a team with some changes going on themselves. Both teams are in a place where they're growing and they're trying to figure things out. Now,
you would have to say there are less changes and less things you have to worry about if you're Deja Vu, though.
Yes, I think we can agree on that, which is one factor we can say leads to Deja Vu winning here. But I think the score kind of says all we need to say, which is a 5-3 scoreline means it could have been in any given Sunday. Either team could have walked away with this, but today Deja Vu was on top of it, and My Little Putin was able to lead his team to victory. Now Dergel at 4,000 damage that battle. Impressive.
A lot of people's fantasy pick only doing 1,093 for that last battle. We'll have to see the series total in just a moment, which we actually have now. Aggressor coming out huge. I said Aggressor at the beginning of the show would be a good fantasy pick, doing 1,600. However, Pompous also doing 1,600. And then Delph, someone that I haven't really heard in the discussion as far as fantasy players before, able to do a decent job tonight.
Yeah, we got to give it to him. Okay, so I feel like my fantasy picks are panning out okay so far.